A very warm welcome to yet another interesting panel at the India Digital Summit. I'm Amit Gupta, the moderator for this session, which has been titled Digital Transformation in Education, Advantages and Challenges. Now, digital transformation itself has been argued and debated a lot. There have been voices for it, there have been voices against it, but the fact remains that you cannot ignore it. More so when we speak in the context of education, where technology has, arguably solved for reach, access, and even learning outcomes in a very big way. In today's discussion, we will gather views from our very eminent experts who represent domains right from K-12 to higher education to professional education, and get some, very unique insights. In the interest of time, we'll not go into elaborate, introductions. As they speak and talk about their work, I'm sure you'll get to know them more. I think we'll dive right in. So what we are going to do is we're going to start off by asking each one of you to speak to how technology has benefited your respective organizations the most, and where do you think the acceleration has happened the most as a result of technology? It's a pretty open-ended question, but you could speak to it one by one in about 2 to 3 minutes. Do we start with you, Ambrish?
Sure. Thanks, Amit. I think last panel we must keep it interesting, otherwise people will leave soon. So for the way I look at it, we at UNext Learning, we are a EdTech platform which connects colleges and universities in the higher education space with learners, both individual learners or enterprise learners, workforce development. So we are a full stack play that way. So of course, I would speak only on the advantages that technology and digital transformation has brought in the higher ed space, helping universities go online and reach large parts of India which were not accessible. So the way I look at it is that in the higher ed space, one of the key things in India, of course, is how do we increase gross enrollment ratios? Because for any economy that is growing, and the way we keep talking about these days, 5 trillion, 10 trillion, etc., education has to be the bedrock, and education leading to skills and outcomes. And the higher ed universities which have a good brand, are well ranked, have good quality pedagogy, lesson plans, outcomes. If they take their courses at a lower price point through the power of internet to large scale audiences in India, I think that will be a game changer. The universities that we work with, the large ones are the Manipal Education and the Medical Group and a few others. IIM Indore, Shivnadar. There are a lot of other few universities that we work with. We have clearly seen how their enrollments have gone up because of using technology and digital. We have also seen how newer courses are launched faster now. If you're a campus-based program, at least from my experience in higher ed, it takes time when you revamp the course as per the UGC or the AICTE guidelines, etc. In online, that gap is much shortened because I can change the course and launch it tomorrow, correct? Second thing is that because you are an online platform, you get to work with a lot of corporates and enterprise learners who come for upskilling and reskilling. It gives you lead indicators in what is happening in the job market. And that I can switch back into our course curriculum so that the students who are doing, say, an online MBA or an online BBA or a master's program in data science, they are not only learning the textbook knowledge, but are also getting know of what is happening in the field currently in real time, and hence their job outcomes are better, and we can help manage the supply side also better. So in my view, there is a space for offline as well as online, and online has lots of its advantages for a diverse country like India to take higher education to the masses. So that would be, I can say a lot, but those would be my initial thoughts.
Sure, that's a helpful perspective. Dr. Vats, you come from the K-12 domain. What is your take?
So first of all, namaskar to all those who are listening and to my fellow panelists and moderator. I represent the Podar group, which has always been very, very upfront when it comes to involvement of technology and digital transformation, and right from K-12. Now, when we talk about K-12, we usually forget the K in the K-12, and we start everything from primary. That's not the case with Podar. Even our early years programs have programs like coding, non-screen-based coding, etc. I think the school sector was most benefited by digital transformation thanks to the pandemic. Because if schooling happened during the pandemic, it's thanks to digital transformation. And we've carried it forward post-pandemic also in ensuring that whatever we bring into our classrooms, because we always attend the BET show, which happens in UK, to be abreast with whatever is the latest, whatever comes into the classroom becomes a teacher's aid. So it's not a singular teacher trying to cope up with the teaching, the assessment, the teaching aids, the videos, etc. So when we talk about digital transformation, it's in all aspects of education, in the classroom and in the school. Teacher and parent coordination and parent participation is also elevated with digital transformation, because otherwise parents today don't have time to come to the school or to spend time with the teacher. Now with digital transformation, the parents almost become like a co-partner to the school and to the teacher. Assessments is something that you can't just leave it to one individual to observe and assess all the children in the classroom. But when you use AI-based assessment systems, it really becomes a support to the teacher to help analyze each student's focus, attention, and learning simultaneously. And thankfully, the NEP also talks about digitizing education and ensuring that we don't lose touch with it. So I think that is what is going to keep the education space completely in sync with digital transformation that's happening.
Right, right. Multiple benefits. And I think you raised a very important point about the advent of tech and assessments. And we'll come to that later. But, we'd like to hear from Sonia Arora, who runs a gamified and AI-based math platform.
Yeah, a very warm namaste from Eduten. Being from the background of as an educator for more than 2 decades and now associated with Eduten Finland Math from last 3 years, it's been a very good journey. And here I have got a platform to share with that this is Eduten Finland Math is a solution, digital solution, which is being offered to the children to bring in that kind of a joyful learning for the subject of mathematics. This is kind of a pedagogy which has been brought in from Finland with the Finnish education excellence with AI and gamification. The motto here is just to eradicate the phobia from the minds of the children for the subject of mathematics. And I really agree with ma'am here that she has very correctly mentioned that these children have to be taken up with those kind of pedagogy, digital pedagogies, where they come and practice and learn. Now this Eduten Finland Math platform had been really helping the schools and the children to see to it that they not only pick up the concept of mathematics in a joyful manner, actually they are playing with maths here, but also they are able to take up the concepts in a better manner. The practice can go as n number of time. The teachers are empowered with the data analytics. And I guess everyone here will agree with me that the future is all about data analytics. We have many solutions these days coming out, but the data analytics which are being generated here on Finland Math really sees to it that how the teacher has the complete control over it. I had been listening to the previous session also, and our all colleagues here, those who are sitting here, they have very correctly said this, that the AI has been playing a major role and which is the future. But at the same time, being an educator myself, I would say this, that the intervention of the teacher is still required. So this platform, Finland Math, looks into it, that even if the AI is suggesting the practice sessions or some kind of remedial exercises to the teacher, but teacher has the control over it, whether actually this child requires it or not. So these kind of interventions, when is going hand in hand with the classroom teaching, it really plays a major role. And I think this digital transformation is going in the right direction. And as ma'am also mentioned, NEP 2020 is actually taking the right steps, and these edtech solutions which we are coming out with are there out, but we'll have to really make a right choice for our children. So this is how, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, you talked about joyful learning, you talked about analytics, you talk about teach, and we'll come back to all of these sub-themes, given that all of this makes this will make this discussion more meaningful. Brendan, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Thanks, Amit, and thanks everybody for having me. I'm here from Online Education Services. We're an Australian OPM service who worked with universities in Australia and the UK to help universities go online, full end-to-end. We've been in operation for about 12 years now, and it's been purely online. So I suppose I'll answer this in a slightly different way. I think the main changes that we've observed in terms of technology is to the who and the how of education. Firstly, with the who, this is the non-traditional student. They are typically adult or not straight out of high school. They live in rural locations, places where it's difficult to get to campus. They have responsibilities, they likely have a job or a primary carer. Frequently they have disabilities as well that would prohibit them from travelling to campus. So this really helps you unlock the non-traditional student. And what we refer to them as the online loyalist, someone who's really loyal to the online model, who otherwise would not be able to attend higher education. I think as a result, now online is seen as a mainstay. 10 years ago, it was an option. Should we do this? Could we do this? How big should we make our online options? Now it is seen very much as a mainstay. And if you don't have an online option, you're very likely to be competed away. I'll then say the how. The tech tools and the plugins and the platforms and the AI and everything that is happening right now, it's proliferating, and there is a massive choice available to institutes. I would say from a challenge perspective, it's all these tools are very exciting, but you need to choose carefully. You need to come at the selection process with the student at the centre of your decisions, making sure that the journey is smooth for them. Just because tech is available doesn't mean you should use it. So it's you got to take your time and be very careful about how you orchestrate your student life cycle. But the upside, if you get it right, the data that you can create allows you to do so many great things that are simply not possible in a face-to-face setting. In OES, we generate about 2,000 data points on every student, and we use that to pull together all sorts of forecasts, continuous learning, dashboards, and we often know a student is at risk of not continuing before they know they're at risk, and it helps us run many hundreds of early intervention programs. So what you can do to improve the outcomes, the continuation, the completion rates using masses of data is really exciting. I would say it's not just student data as well, it's around your unit performance, your assessment performance, things like teacher satisfaction. There is a raft of things that you have the opportunity to measure really objectively. So that's a really important aspect there, that you continue to test and measure your impacts, that you don't rush, you don't try to pull too many levers at once, and you measure the impact that you're having on your delivery.
Thank you, Brendan. So clearly, you talked about unlocking potential for non-traditional students. I think something that all of you pointed towards was data and insights, which can be used to improve the teaching learning process. I want to change tracks here and really focus on K-12 first and then higher education. And if I can ask you, Dr. Vats, specifically in the context of K-12, is digital transformation really required in early and preparatory years? And to what extent? Where do we draw the line on tech integration in classrooms and on curriculum integration? We've heard both sides really, and we'd love to get your perspective.
Amit, I'm so glad that you asked specifically about this age group. If you see the NEP 2020, it's the first policy in this country which has included the early years. So early years is now a very essential part of education. It's now called the foundational years. But I see most of the digital companies and all ignoring that stage. And suddenly education starts from later on, from grade 3, etc. Now you're missing out on the brain development years, which is when a child learns how to learn. So whether it's technology or anything, the child's first exposure happens during those years. Now if you see the American Academy of Pediatricians, they say that developmentally appropriate technology. After the pandemic, everybody is a little cautious in saying technology is harmful for children. For example, with this wide world in which we are living, and a child is away from their grandparents, how do they talk to their grandparents? They will use a screen. They will use a digital device. So developmentally appropriate use of technology, digital or otherwise, is something that should be there in the classrooms. Because otherwise, how will you teach them technology literacy? How will you teach them what is right and what is wrong about technology? How will you teach them how to keep safe from technology? What distance should your screen be from you when you are using it? How long should you use a screen? What should you watch and what should you not watch on a screen? If we are trying to teach young children about, traffic signals, for example, they are not going to drive. Why do we teach them about traffic signals? This is more important. Every child today has a mobile phone in their hand, but we are not teaching them how to be safe with it. So it is very important to get that balance in early and preparatory years, because if these children grow up with digital and technology literacy, they will become better users of it. They will be able to make the most out of it in their later years. So definitely developmentally appropriate, which means age appropriate, culture appropriate, size appropriate, and all that.
I think that's very rightly framed, developmentally appropriate. I want to
Yes.
ask you, Sonia, you are a digital first platform. How do you strike this very fine balance, especially, with prep classes, with very young learners?
Yeah, very truly said this, that I think everyone will agree here that a 2-year child today is also consuming technology. If the mother has to feed the child, probably the mobile is in front of the child, or the screen time, this is how the child is being fed. It's actually a fact. And if we go ahead with these preparatory classes, children are going back home and consuming technology. So when we are talking to the schools or to the parents or to the teachers, we are trying to put forward this point only, that let this kind of a digital platform, like for example, we are making use of for eradicating the maths phobia from the minds of the young children. So let this technology go into the right direction. It should be at least right. If they have to take it, then let them have that kind of practice. Let them be satisfied with the urge of playing those games. Let that go into the positive learning. And here the parents also agree with us. Those who have got the platform ready for the children, those who have got connected with us, they are happy that at least now they are in this, the child is able to understand that what is to be taken up for practice. So those positive learnings have to be taken care, along with what has been mentioned, that yes, they need to be taught also how to handle the technology and how to take it forward. The platform offers right from preschool onwards. So this is the major purpose of it, to make them understand, to make them go ahead with the subject of mathematics. I think in India, it is one of the anxiety level, not only for the children, but for parents as well. So this is taking well care there.
Right. So striking the balance, is the key,
balance,
and parents have a...
definitely. And the schools, those who are connecting with us, they have a proper schedule for it. The platform, our pedagogy says the child does not require more than 30 to 40 minutes in a week to come on the platform. That's finished pedagogy. And we are not here for any kind of rat race. The race is just to see that the child is getting the concepts very clear, not in terms of marks and assessment, but definitely the assessment provision is also there on the platform, but then again it is a joyful learning, joyful assessment. So that really takes care of all kind of aspects from every end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a similar question. I mean, the proliferation of tech in higher education is less contested. It is almost a given. But I do have a question for you. Ambrish, we can go with you first, and Brendan, you could come in later. Do you believe that technology has helped to make teaching learning more motivating and engaging for the student? And is it also equipping learners to acquire future skills faster? Do you think there are enough proof points to suggest this?
So in the higher ed space, because the average age of the learner is upwards of say at least 20, 21, I think he's not away from tech because today every worker, at least also in India, is a knowledge worker. So technology is part of their lives. So for them actually, unlike the K-12 challenge, for them it's like tech is part of their daily life, and hence online learning is more attuned to their upskilling or professional journey also. Sorry, second point, Amit, you mentioned?
So I talked about future skills. Are they acquiring future skills faster because of
Yeah.
technology?
So that's there. When we work with enterprise clients, like also as Brandon was saying, they are an OPM, we are also an OPM. But we also work, also a large part of our business comes from enterprise clients, and we set up their platform for learning. And we are clearly seeing that except for very few high-end program for the C-suite of leaders, CXOs, which happen on campus at Ivy League colleges in the US or UK or top college in India, the entire learning spectrum has moved online. With advent of now generative AI and the way ChatGPT is coming into fore and other platforms also like Perplexity, etc. I use that quite often. The future skills is completely now moved online, I would say. In the skills department, the only part where mid-level or entry-level programs, the boot camps continue to hold fort with a hybrid model where there is a face-to-face interaction as well as an online learning platform involved. But apart from boot camps, I think pretty much everything on the higher ed side is moving online, and that's the only way that enterprises or the workforce development of employees or even learners in colleges who are doing online programs can be abreast of themselves. And the last point I will make is I visit campuses very often in India, almost a month. Half of the classes are empty because they are on online platforms within the hostel. And they come to the class for the assignments or case study discussions. So in campuses also the learning is happening online. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Sure. Denton.
I'll think about this in a slightly different way in terms of how we're supporting the teachers to keep pace with the advance of technologies. There's great tech available, but the magic happens when it's put in the hands of great teachers and they do what they love to do so much. So I think it's really important to give some thought to how you prepare your teachers for the delivery of online education. Beyond a standard recruitment process, in an OES we put our teachers through a 3-week paid training program where they themselves become the student in the platform they're going to be teaching from. They get to experience what it is to reach out and have delays or use the platform. Is that something they may not have had exposure to before? And it becomes quite an intense process for them, and then they can better relate to the students and they can better understand the tools that are made available to them. Because that learner is not the same, like I mentioned before, it's important that you don't go into it assuming that your methodologies and practices that you've had in place in face-to-face are going to translate into online. So again, preparing your teachers to understand the differences, the nuances, what they can expect and what they cannot expect becomes ever important.
Sure.
And finally, I think just the ongoing training and the monitoring of performance and how teachers are being rated by their peers, by their students, how their units are performing. Again, using some of the data that's touched on before to really continually assess and early identify any hotspots and move in to smooth that out so that the teachers don't feel alienated, the teachers feel empowered and able to make a difference on the new platform.
Sure. Sure. I think very valid point, professional development of teachers. This is often less talked about. I want to bring you in, Dr. Popat, Vats here. Do you believe that the teaching community, the educators, have been somewhat alienated given the advent of tech in education? Were they adequately prepared for technology, and what is, what are we doing currently to sort of upskill them and to reskill them?
So I think the teacher community has never really accepted technology or digital transformation because they are a little scared. They are worried about being a failure in the classroom. They are worried about what will I do if it doesn't work? Will I look like a fool? Will children make fun of me, etc. So I think it should be made a mandatory part of their B.Ed qualifications because it's missing in the curriculum in teacher education. Number two, I don't think all of us should ever think that the teacher will become obsolete now. It's not going to happen, that human touch is always going to be required, so that fear needs to be taken out from their minds, that if I use technology, I won't be required. If this balance is brought in, technology would be a superb feature in K-12 education.
Great endorsement. From you, Sonia.
Yeah, true. Yeah, rightly said. I think the teachers have this kind of mindset at times, although post-COVID, I believe there has been massive changes and improvement. They are welcoming technology with open arms, and might be at some areas still we need to catch up, but at this point I would also like to mention that not only with the teachers, but the schools also needs to be little more gearing up with the IT infrastructure. Those kind of training sessions, those kind of workshops, if are being given regularly to the educators, probably that will also make a lot of difference. So,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you. That was quite insightful.